Wide receiver trade candidates, Tyreek Hill. What do you say?
I'm a no. I just don't trust him. It just seems like he always has a lot of off-field stuff, including some, personal issues with, things that might be out there. It just seems like he's too easily distracted. And the bigger thing for me is, there's advanced analytics, advanced data that says that like he's no longer running at his top speed, that it's declined, especially this past year. Now we know he had a wrist injury. His agent said that he's played through it, blah, blah, blah. But his legs still weren't the same. And his injury wasn't in his legs as far as we know. And so if Tyreek, you could put up with the other stuff with Tyreek. If he is at a different speed than anybody else in the game, it opens everything up from everybody else. But, if teams aren't worried about that, then no, he's not worth it.
Yeah, the wrist bone not connected to the hip bone. Look, there's some significant off the field stuff with Tyreek, and it started in college with an absolutely brutal incident between he and his pregnant girlfriend at the time. And I think this is all subjective, but there were some other things going back a couple of years ago off the field with one of his young children. I'm just uncomfortable with the guy, and I don't know him personally. This is just looking from the outside. But some of the stuff that's been out there, I'm uncomfortable with him. I don't know if that's who I want to bring in to mentor the young receivers. And he seems to be very high-strung and emotional. We saw that at the end of the year when he's proclaiming he wants out, and then a week or two later, he's apologized. To me, it's just there's just too many questions. He tremendously talented player. I think he still has some gas left in the tank, but sometimes I've just got to go with some other things. Versus just how that guy looks on the field. So I would pass on Tyreek. I understand some people would say statute of limitations and, he deserves a second, third, fourth chance. That's cool. I'm just saying if I'm making that decision and paying this guy that money, I personally would pass. Debo Samuel.
I'm a no on Debo. I sort of always have been. Look, if he was durable, then I might put up with it. But you combine the contract you have to give him, the durability issues. I do think he would be an asset in this offense. I don't really think that they have, somebody like that, as far as a receiver, running back combination. And we've seen Josh McDaniels, utilize those guys in the past with who the hell was the guy? They went to the Falcons. Cordell Patterson.
Yeah.
Josh is pretty inventive that way, and I think he could find good use for him. I do think he'd be an asset here. I don't know. I need durability. I need availability, and there's too many questions about that with him.
He failed the top 25 receiving yards in 6 of his final 7 games. His yards per carry last year was at 3.1 on 42 attempts. That's less than half of his career mark of 6.3. He has all the signs of running out of gas. The wear and tear, the style of play. I wonder if he came here, he would want to be the number one and at least think that he was going to be the number one, because he is absolutely unequivocally no longer a number one receiver in football. So what are his aspirations joining a team like the Patriots? And does that become a problem? There's also apparently some questions about how in shape he is. There was a picture of him at the Super Bowl in an Eagles jersey, and it was a profile pic from the side, and certainly looked like he had a little bit of a papa belly there. So there's some questions on whether or not he's taking it seriously enough. I did pose this though on 98.5 a couple of weeks ago. This is everybody put the tinfoil hats on. Okay. I know this is incredibly unlikely. However, AJ Brown just won a Super Bowl. He posted on Instagram that he gets more thrill from dominating than winning a championship, which you could feel a certain way about, but that's what he posted on Instagram, and he loves the journey. And A.J. Brown, we know the Mike Vrabel link, but A.J. Brown and Debo Samuel are best friends. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, oh, they like each other. No, they are best friends. They're on record. They talk to each other twice a week, every week of the year. They share, advice about their children. I mean, they are super tight. So, tinfoil hat, if I felt like Debo Samuel could possibly help me sway A.J. Brown to want out of Philly and come to New England to play with his BFF and play with under Vrabel again and to play for the team that he said he grew up watching, was a huge fan of. He wanted to be a Patriot. If I knew that gave me any chance, I would probably take a swing on Debo. If there was any shot that gave me a better chance of getting A.J. Brown, I would take the shot. Otherwise, I would pass.
Yeah, well, Nick, you had me at AJ Brown, so I'm on board. Let's ride that tinfoil canoe right down the river.
Let's go crazy, baby. Let's go nuts. All right, DK Metcalf.
Hell yes, if they can get him out of Seattle, which I think is a possibility. They're going to have some cap issues. It's either AJ's number one for me. DK would be my backup. I'm going after those guys.
Yeah, I'm in on Metcalf. Like you said, I don't know if Seattle wants to get rid of him or would be open to trading him. I know he came out on a podcast. Everybody listening to this will say, oh, but he said he hates Massachusetts. Well, if they plopped $75 million guaranteed in front of him, he might love Massachusetts. So,
yep.
And if they said, you're the number one, we're going to throw the football to you 10 times a week with Drake May, and his skill set fits perfectly with May. I know people say he's not a great route runner. I don't need him to be a great route runner to dominate games. So I think he's a perfect fit with May. The question, Clint Kubiak, the new OC, Mike McDonald, the head coach out there, recently said at a press conference that they want to create an offense where Metcalf is at the epicenter. So it sounds like they're all in on the DK Metcalf business. We'll see if that remains true. Garrett Wilson of the Jets.
I think it's a pipe dream. I mean, if you're the Jets and restarting, you're already restarting a quarterback. Look, he's the most talented guy they have on their team, and they have some talent on that team. I think he's outstanding. Maybe if he doesn't like what's going on, if they really want to start like a rebuild and start selling off pieces, yeah, I'd be into it. I don't see any chance that A, I don't think he's going to be available. B, they would never trade him to the Patriots.
I don't know the GM. I know the GM's name, Darren. Is it Muji or Moogie?
I think it's Moogie.
Whatever it is.
Darren. I don't know.
Darren M. I want to throw a scenario at you, Greg. Let's say that whoever makes the call, whether it's Vrabel or Cowden or Wolf, whoever calls Darren M. and says, "Hey, are you open to the idea of possibly moving on from Garrett Wilson?" If Darren M, Greg, okay, you're in that role of Wolf, Cowden, or Vrabel. If Darren M said, we will trade you Garrett Wilson for the 4th pick in the draft, would you do it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Without question.
Wow. I wouldn't.
Wait, were you saying from the New England perspective or the Jets perspective?
From New England's perspective.
Oh, from New England's perspective? No.
Yeah. All right. If Darren M said, you need to give me the 4th pick for Garrett Wilson, you wouldn't do it.
Nope.
Neither would I. I do think the Jets would think hard about it if the Patriots called and offered that, but I don't think they will. All right. Here's a guy. Right now, he's a trade candidate. He might be a free agent in another few days. We'll see how it unfolds in New York. But Devonte Adams.
Possibly. Now, I know a lot of people say like, oh, him and Josh McDaniels in Vegas, he's smoking cigars. Like, they got along really well. I'm telling you.
Really?
And yeah. And, there were certainly some things that went down there, but look, Devonte knows that, that first year in Vegas without, really any great quarterback play, he had a monster season that year. And, I think that McDaniels would be on board. I think that Adams would be okay with it. not my ideal sort of thing because, I want somebody that Drake May can grow with. And Devonte Adams is like a 1 or 2 year thing. Could definitely help him. So I'm not opposed, but not high on my list.
It is amazing. Like I think people look back at the Raiders thing and they think like Josh McDaniels is the reason why that Adams left Vegas. No, Devonte left Vegas in 2024. So that was after McDaniels was gone. I think the bigger issue for Devonte is that the Raiders traded Derek Carr or they let him go. And that kind of pissed him off because one of the major reasons why he wanted to go to Vegas was because of Carr, because they were college teammates and they're really good friends. So that was really the falling out. It wasn't Josh. It was the decision surrounding Derek Carr. Greg mentioned when you look at the 2 years, 22 and 23, when McDaniels was out there in Vegas, in 2022, Adams had 100 catches, 1,500 plus yards receiving, and 14 touchdowns. And then in 2023, he had 103 catches. His yards went down from 1,500 to 1,144, but he had 8 touchdowns. So this was a guy in Josh McDaniels' offense that was 1,000 plus yards easily, 100 or more catches, in 8 or more touchdowns. So he had production in the Josh McDaniels offense, even though they had a shaky quarterback situation going on there. So I would be willing to look into the Devonte Adams thing. I don't think it's a trade possibility. I think it's more of a free agent possibility. I think he will be cut, but there's a story out there today that he's enamored, or whatever the hell the word was, with the Chargers and playing along maybe with Justin Herbert. So, does he want to go back to the West Coast, better weather, yada, yada? We'll see. But I would 100% be interested if I'm the Patriots, as long as it's like a short-term deal, which I think it would be. Christian Kirk.
I'm a no. I was a no when he was the top free agent, and I thought the Jaguars were crazy for giving him that money, which I was right about. He's fine, but no, I'm not a big Christian Kirk guy.
Out on Christian Kirk. He had a good season, obviously, that got him that contract. And ever since then, in 2022, he was fine. And he had over 1,100 yards and 8 touchdowns when the Jaguars went to the playoffs. But since then, he's been bothered by injuries, hasn't looked like the same guy. So, he could have an okay kind of level, but I don't think you're getting much of a ceiling from him. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, we talked about him before. I am big time yes on Cooper Kupp. I think he's going to end up being released by the Rams. I want his smarts, his leadership. Look, it depends on the contract, how much he gets, but at his age, I know he declined at the end of last season, and there's durability issues. But to me, even just having Cooper Kupp for an off season and a training camp and, into the season or around during the season, that's worth it for me with this, with Drake May, that wide receiver room. He's a coach in waiting. I would be, I'm big time yes on Kupp if it makes financial sense.
You ready, Bedard? Print the T-shirts. Boston Sports Journal. I get 20% of every T-shirt sold. We're thumbs up for Kupp. With a big fat thumb in the middle of the T-shirt. Come on, print them now. Print them now. All right, Tyler Lockett of the Seahawks.
I like Lockett. He's good. He's solid. He's aging. He would be more of a, if the Patriots were a little bit closer to contention, a guy to add to the room, add a different, just a good solid receiver. But I'm not thrilled about it.
Yeah, he would be far from my first choice, but he could be good for the room, and little special teams action might not be a terrible 4th or 5th option, but I'd rather see what I've gotten the younger receivers and whether or not they could come back from a rough rookie season before I start giving a ton of snaps to somebody like Tyler Lockett.